So I did the job for about a year, and then I graduated, and then I got what I thought was going to be my real job in accounting. And then after being there, I was a little miserable, and somebody from the company, Super 8 Sound, called me up and said, hey, we're having some trouble down here, and and some financial problems because you got your degree in accounting. You think you can buy and help us? And I was like, yeah, sure. I love you guys, So I went back down to Super 8 Sound, and they got into a mess. They were in really bad debt, and I was like, well, you guys are in too deep. You're going to have to do something desperate now. It got to a point where they had given up. They decided that they didn't want to run the company anymore. They wanted to close it. So I said, well, if you don't want the company anymore and you're going to close it, you haven't really paid me anything for like all this time I put into it. You want to make a trade. I'll trade you like all my efforts that I've been putting in for the last year for what's left of the company. I wound up like 26 years old, like owning, this bankrupt Super 8 sound company. So they left, I took over, and I just started to change the sort of the style of the company.
We were a young married couple with 2 small kids, and for so many years we had really made our livelihood servicing the schools, because the colleges and universities were the ones who bought our systems. That was the Super 8 cameras with the sync sound recorders and the editing benches, and just like overnight, boom, 1984, that school market completely went away. While that was happening, at the same time, we were getting orders, mostly from the West Coast.
I'm doing about 30% of my business in LA from Boston. And if I was in LA, just imagine, I can do this much work from Boston. If I get there, I could do a lot more work. And my neighbor, was a DP in Boston, probably the only 2 film guys, that knew each other. We lived next to each other in Boston. He moved to LA right around this time. And so he's like, why don't you just move to LA? And I'm like, I can't. I have a wife, and I got 2 kids, and I got a company, and I got... He's like, yeah, but it's sunny out here all the time. And I was like, yeah, I know, but like I have family, and I have, all the usual stuff. He's like, why don't you just come out for the weekend? I was like, okay, so... in the winter time, you just like, you fly out, and the sunshine every day, and you're like, oh my God, like, what am I doing going to work in the snow? So I started hatching a plan as to how I could like open like this satellite office in LA. So I actually started my first office in San Francisco, which only lasted a month. And I was like, oh my God, I planted all this, I'm moving to the West Coast, I have this West Coast office, all this stuff, I got to deliver. So I was like, well, I don't want to be in San Francisco, there's much more work in LA. Like, all right, let's give it a try. I didn't sell my house, I left everything there. I rented a house out here. I was like, I'll just try it for like a month. Of course, once you get here, it's like, but I'm not going to close my office there, because I have all these guys there, and so I didn't want to leave them hanging. So I said, look, okay, you guys run the office in Boston, and I'll move to LA, and we'll go back and forth, and it'll be fine.